It's Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020, and this is From the Mind of Joe. I thought it might be useful to make a short recording every day during the month of June. The purpose? Well, there is no purpose in particular. I thought the effort will increase some general production competence as I ramp up with the different tools and skills. I also figure a more impromptu recording habit will replace a more arduous and deliberate writing habit that often sends reflection directly to the digital landfill. We'll see where it leads. Sunday night is bath night, time I spend helping my son with his business, as I have now for about 20 years. You see, my son suffers from Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and this is a task he simply cannot manage on his own. Since around the age of 7, he's grown toward manhood, and his body progressively fails him. Over the years, bath time has evolved from simply splashing around with toy boats to father and son time, and on to guy time between adults. The women leave us to our business as we listen to music, tell dirty jokes, talk about what's new in the world and in our lives, and occasionally discuss the more existential things on our minds. I don't remember how we came to the topic, but this Sunday night we found ourselves discussing the Franciscan's habit, a simple brown garment with a hood, the garment cinched by an ordinary length of rope with 3 symbolic knots. I told him I recently heard a broadcast where Franciscan seminarians and newly ordained lamented the fact that new quality habits were hard to come by. More often than not, their first habits were hand-me-downs, worn, patched, sometimes ill-fitting, sometimes made of fabric unsuitable for the climate. And I asked my son what he thought about that. "It's just a robe," he said. "How hard can it be?" I told him that, to the best of my understanding, St. Francis came from a wealthy family, but came to an individual conversion of heart, understanding his calling to live a life of poverty and service. The robe, belt, and sandals too, did I mention the sandals? Were the simple and common clothes of the poor. Nothing special about them. They were just part of his new life, not symbols of anything. Today, that outfit is uncommon, so to see them out in public is to know the person is likely a follower of St. Francis, wearing the uniform of the order. It must be a matter of great pride for the newly ordained to be granted the habit, the external mark of achievement and acceptance into the community. But is this what St. Francis had in mind? That his brothers would strive to find perfectly tailored symbols of poverty? We considered other examples. I told my son I was far from home with a summer job when I received the invitation to test for my black belt. It would have been a hardship, I reasoned, to make the trip back. And besides, I was surely out of practice. I wouldn't want to embarrass my teacher, my school, or myself. So with apologies, I declined. Some time later, an old friend from the dojo came to visit. He brought with him a box and a message from our sensei. In the box, a black belt with my last name, transcribed into Japanese, embroidered in red thread. The message from his envoy: "Wear it when you're ready." Fellow martial artists know the rhetoric. On the one hand, by the time your teacher raises your name for promotion, you've already passed. The test is just a formality. On the other, the black belt is only a sign that you're ready to begin. And yes, there's a third hand that occasionally reminds us that the black belt just keeps your jacket closed and your pants up. Regardless, for months, their juniors and their seniors alike all enjoy watching the newly minted black belts with their puffed-up chests tripping over their new hakamas mid-technique. So what does that black belt actually mean? And when does a black belt actually become a black belt? You know, as we all understand it. Given my odd circumstances, I wrestled with that message for some time. I traveled from school to school as a ronin of sorts, to practice as a guest. I would always wear a white belt, the mark of a rope beginner. In the ordinary mix, I'd often be paired up with other beginners or mid-level practitioners who would helpfully guide me and correct my techniques, and I'd be curious to learn how their school understood them. Occasionally I would be paired up with brown belts and black belts who, after a few interactions, would give me a raised eyebrow and adjust their techniques to feel me out. In time, I'd be paired with the school's senior instructors, who would give me a familiar message. When you are comfortable here, you are encouraged to wear your rank. More recently, my daughter graduated from the university a week or two ago. Without pomp and without circumstance, amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, we gathered at the appointed time in our separate places in front of our televisions and laptops, and we watched recorded speeches stream on YouTube. Her name scrolled up the screen, and it was done. We gathered on one of the teleconferencing platforms afterward for congratulations and chatter. Does it feel real to have a degree virtually conferred after years of hard work and residence on campus? To not wear the regalia, to not hear your name, cross the stage, and shake hands while receiving the degree, to not turn the tassel and toss the cap and party with cameras and family and friends around campus. She has a job waiting for her as a teacher once the pandemic allows the school to run their new teacher training. Even that must feel unreal. So, when does black belt become a black belt? Is it the ordination that truly makes the priest? What truly changes once the sheepskin is handed to you? Is it okay if we chase the symbols for what we believe they'll confer, struggle to wield them once they're granted, or feel lost when we identify with them and cling to them, though life takes us in new directions? That St. Francis wore a mendicant's clothes was likely only noticed by those who knew him before, not likely by those he served. I hoisted the boy from the tub, toweled him off, laid out his nightclothes, combed his hair, and prepared his evening tea. It's a mystery what we'll discuss at bath time tomorrow. We'll see.